What's Guanajuato Sewa Guego? Today we're visiting with ceramic artist, educator, organizer, and muralist Margarita Paz Pedro, whose work runs from the neighborhoods of Albuquerque to the Venice Biennale. She was born in Albuquerque, raised in Las Cruces, and carries family ties to Laguna Pueblo. She recently completed an MFA in studio arts from the incredible IAIA, the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe. She's built a body of work where public art and private practice inform each other in beautiful ways. In her recent studio work, she's been embedding seeds into clay so that breaks down over time and goes back to the earth. Beautiful. Margarita also leads Alma Tile. That's an apprenticeship-based public art organization that builds murals all over New Mexico. She and her collaborators are building the next generation of mural artists by building real walls in real neighborhoods alongside artists who already know the craft. These are really notable skills. And I wanted to record this introduction exactly where we're sitting right now because Alma Tile created this mural for our organization called Juanita's Hornos. It's a piece about my mother-in-law right there, Juanita, and the earthen ovens that she created. And there's this whole story of the flora, the fauna, and the mission of the organization. She and her apprentices managed to tell the story of the beauty and abundance we're building here. We are Yetimistaha ne Degarunya Ganare, the Auntie's Dandelion, and Angasto Saraguate. We offer greetings, love, and respect to Canada's Indigenous Screen Office, Deyumki Wistagenha, who support us as we bring you these stories of powerful Indigenous changemakers like Margarita. We invite you to subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform. And now it's time to listen to your aunties.
I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I grew up in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where my mom's family is from, and where they've lived for generations as well. And I'm an enrolled member of Laguna Pueblo, where my dad's dad was from. So my grandpa on my dad's side, and my grandma Santa Clara. So I think within my work, all those various locales definitely play a part in me looking at material, specifically clay, place, and how there's different intersections and connections and parallels and all the different directionality that happens with clay people through time.
And it's amazed me since I've been spending a lot more time here that the origin story is that people emerged from the earth here. And so we're in an adobe house now and working with clay as someone who is from the Pueblos and from this area. What is that relationship like? How does that dynamic occur to you as someone who emerged from this earth, right?
So my initial interaction with clay was in college. I took a wheel throwing class. That was in 1999. And it was the first time like a class really challenged me in a way that I hadn't been challenged before. It challenged like all parts of me, like mentally, physically, spiritually. And it really like sucked me in, like I was gonna figure it out. And so that's where I say that where my relationship with clay started was then. And I call it a relationship because it takes all the things that relationships take. So time and energy and love and frustration and impatience and patience. Yeah, all of the things, good and bad. And so I think taking more ceramic classes then had me looking around like, where else do I see clay around? Observing the rich clay tradition that New Mexico has across the state. As I looked deeper into it, asking like if we had any potters in our family, but there was not. So there's no like connection in that area. As I did more research, really understanding that people have a really deep understanding of place if there is a clay tradition involved. Like, you have to know 2 hills down that rock when wet, will turn into something that can be formed and hold its shape through all the processes it needs to take. So firing, it can hold water, it can store food. Also thinking about like paints, clay slips, same thing. You really get to know where you live, and you're like, around the second big rock under that dead piece of wood is the best slip for something, you know?
Yeah.
So you get in
And she's not going to give it away. So,
I mean, everyone has their place. Every I would say Pueblo has their places where they often go or are
Yeah.
constantly finding, with the ever evolving earth, new areas and new pigments. That's kind of how I've thought about it now. I don't do, or I say this, but I've started. I don't do like what's considered traditional Pueblo pottery, but I have started working in natural clay. I dabbled a little in grad school with the Pueblo pottery class and Clarence Cruz, and sort of stopped for a bit, and then kind of picked up working in natural clay with the mentor, Nora Naranjo from Santa Clara Pueblo. And so kind of just taking my time with that material. Not, it's, I work with all kinds of clays, and it feels like that one I want to spend my time getting to know, and it's a different relationship than the other clays are.
the clay's in Santa Clara? Or, yeah. Wow. And what a daunting process to undertake, right? Like to take on that relationship. What was it that started pulling you in? And you must realize early on, this is a massive commitment over so many years.
When I started, I don't think it's going to be a massive thing until you're like are working through it. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, this is life work for him. It definitely is. I think just getting to know Nora and the material at the same time, having a fellow artist, female Pueblo woman, and who's been working in the art world for decades, that relationship and that knowledge that she has is invaluable. And just, I feel like clay has a lot of transferable metaphors in life, and that you can't rush the clay. You can't rush the process. Or things, you can try, but things will often go wrong, and it is constantly telling you to slow down.
Wow.
And so it's the same with, building relationships with people, building relationships with community.
Yeah.
It's a process, and you got to invest the time and the energy.
Well, and you are absolutely surrounded by relationships. Actually, first, can we talk about your mentor?
It's interesting the way that we did finally come together, because in undergrad I was doing, research, Pueblo pottery, Pueblo women. There was very little out there at that time. And I stumbled across her poetry book. She has a book of poetry, and they had it at the library at the University of Colorado. And so that was one book I checked out, like continuously, just kind of reading through it and seeing her, and then just kind of being around when she had some works at the Albuquerque Museum when I was in undergrad in the 2000s, early 2000s. And then it wasn't until my MFA grad program in 2001 that she was looking for a mentee, preferably a Pueblo woman. And she knows the director, the program director. And so they had asked me if I wanted to do it, but I was like, had 2 jobs, I had a daughter, she's in Santa Clara, and it's just kind of, it would have been a lot. And I was like, I don't think I can swing that. unfortunately, as much as I wanted to.
Mhm.
And then they were trying to get somebody else, but it didn't work out. It fell through. And then he asked again, like, are you sure? Can you do this? And I think it was like in the summer when I could actually probably swing it a little better. I didn't have to worry about like taking my daughter from school or that kind of situation, childcare, as much I could take her. So I did the program, we met, and it was just, it was like, well, I call her now my art auntie, but it's like being an auntie. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and it was supposed to be just for a month, but after the like timeline was done, I was like, I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
And she was like, me neither. So we're still working together. It's not as frequent, but we try for at least once a month. And, but even then, like, she's pretty busy and has a lot of projects and same. So it's once a month, so once every other month, but depending on what's going on.
And what does her poetry cover? What is it like?
I think the book she wrote was probably in the early mid-90s, maybe like 94. But just like her experiences as an artist, as a mom, her perspective.
Mm-hmm. Does the clay figure into that? Does that fold into? Yeah.
Yeah. She definitely talks a lot about clay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then reading it now after that many years, it was like, you get your young brain and your wise brain. So you find things that you didn't see initially.
Oh, nice.
Fact,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still ongoing, and it's been, I think she's very generous with her knowledge of what she was willing to share. And so, and she was, she's like, we want this to be a family place. She has 2 granddaughters. I brought my daughter. They have a trampoline, so they can play.
Nice.
Just kind of get to know her family as well. So it's been just sort of, and then we've, gone up for various things here and there.
Yeah. And what would you say are the words that stay most with you from her?
The like focusing in on working with fellow women is one thing that definitely comes up. Learning more about her work in using natural materials and the care that she has for the future and the earth has also really stuck with me in more ways than I realized until I like take a moment, and then I'm like, oh, that's why some of my work is shifting.
Yeah. Can you say more about that?
Just digging through a current project that I have in water conservation and stewardship, and working with Adobe more. And that's something that she has done as well.
Oh, has she? Great.
And is like kind of redoing a project that's at NDC at NMAI. And so currently now, called Always Becoming. And so there's some definite similarities in those 2 projects.
Wow.
Amazing.
Is that a mural project or that's
No, they're sculptures. Yeah, the materials.
Okay.
Meant to break down.
I see.
Yeah.
Did she work on the originals?
Yes. Yeah. And that one, I think, was initially in early 2000s. And then now it's breaking down, and then they're redoing it with the like next generation of family that she's worked with.
And so this whole other, like, there are so many sides to you. Like I said, we could sit here and talk for 5 hours because I just keep discovering more and more about what you're involved in, and it all is entangled, which is awesome. The way that we came to know you is through your mosaic mural projects, large scale, writ large, all over Albuquerque, and just everywhere we looked. Again, I'm fairly new to this region, and would notice downtown just these spectacular. Sorry about the books. The spectacular mosaics on the sides of buildings and at the convention center, and come to find out all of them. Old Town. Is yours the one that's in Old Town?
It's the programs, yes.
Yeah.
I did work on that.
Okay. Yeah. So describe Alma Tile and these projects and what the focus of this is, because you are bringing people that are young people together to do these incredibly complex projects, and including here at Juanita's Hornos.
So ALMA stands for Apprenticeships for Leaders in Mosaic Arts. We're an arts nonprofit located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We make large-scale ceramic tile murals across the state and are dabbling into other materials here and there within, the public art realm or sphere. We started off as a program in 1999 under Mayor Jim Baca, who kind of initiated this youth program that had different components to it. So there was a gallery component, painted mural arts, a sculpture maybe, and then the tile one, and a few more that I don't really remember. And the only one that kind of has stuck around as is the tile one. And so it was a program housed under Harwood Art Center. And in 2015, we wanted to do more than just be a summer program. We wanted to do workshops and, just try more things. And so the leadership at the time decided, hey, let's start our own nonprofit.
Yeah.
And there was, I think, about 6 of us. And one of us had a business, I think an LLC, but the rest of us were young, late 20s, early 20s, and not really totally aware of what that meant. So, pros and cons.
Yeah, sometimes it's
Yeah.
they have no idea. The ignorance is bliss.
Right. Yeah. We started our application. It took a long time because we didn't know, figuring it out. So it took about 4 years. We finally got it, and they awarded it to us in 2019, and then backdated it from when we incorporated. So we just celebrated our 11th anniversary. Yeah. So now our main program is definitely still our summer program. We hired youth from across the city to help us create these large-scale ceramic tile murals. And we plan years in advance for each summer, or a year or two, depending on what the project is, for each project. And that way we know, we can hire folks, we can do all the different things. We have that program pretty much squared away enough that we have project managers who help kind of run that. And me and the other co-director just are continually looking for other projects. Yes, because now we can be year round, and we're trying to make strides to get there, to do projects year round. And I'd say within the past 5 years, we've had an additional project outside of the summer one. And in the past 2 years, we've had 2 to 3. 1 year we had 5, and we realized that was too much. So yeah, it uses an apprenticeship mentor model where we work alongside our apprentices, guiding them in every step. We take them through every step from the public art project. We provide them trainings, transferable skills. We recognize not everyone's going to continue on this, but giving them how to be a good employee skills.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And
I just feel like there's so much to learn from the way this is run, from the way Alma is run, because, I mean, there's a definite outcome that has to happen no matter what, right? And to bring people from 0 to a jillion so quickly is fascinating to me. And the care that seems to be taken, but also the trust that seems to exist there with the people that are participating.
We've found that mentorship is not always just 1 year. For deeper mentorship, it definitely takes time, investment, energy.
Yeah.
And we have a group of 3 project managers we've actually worked with them since high school, and now they're creeping to 30. And so they went from lead apprentice. We just turn them into project managers because they can completely manage a full project by themselves. We give them guidance and design and, the administrative stuff, but also like, I feel like we've worked with them so long. The nice thing is they like anticipate our thoughts, which is amazing.
That's amazing.
But the other thing is they're like, their own quality is like surpassing ours. Whereas I used to be like a little bit more, not picky, but like particular with things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like letting that go some. And they're the ones like, hey, should we pop this or should we change this? Well, no one's gonna know. It's fine.
It's like, but you taught us this.
Yeah, I know. So it's really funny.
So what have been your favorite projects that you've worked on, visually and content-wise as an artist? What should people be looking for from your perspective when they come to Albuquerque and they're looking at these murals?
They're all really layered in the different things that are different components that are in them. And so from afar, if you have only 5 minutes, you get to see the overall picture. But if you do take time to like kind of go through each section, you're going to find some like hidden details. We have a really like over 20-year span on the Albuquerque Convention Centers.
Mm-hmm.
Previous to me, we were on Albuquerque Old Town. There used to be some on 4th Street. Those no longer exist. We have some at Wantabo Library. We worked there for 2 years.
Right.
We just finished a 5-year project at Valle de Oro National Wildlife Refuge.
Valle de Oro is amazing. And that was 4 entrances for the 4 directions.
And there are entrances at those different spaces.
Yeah.
And we worked with concrete forms that we tiled, which is different than using already.
Oh, a building that exists already. That's right. So those were butterflies.
Yeah, butterfly, and crane, fish, and rabbits.
I see. Well, and just to talk about the level of detail, and there's also humor in there, but also just kind of heartbreaking details. In the Valle de Oro, I remember seeing a mask, right? And there's actually there's a layer, there's all this incredible beauty. And then there is this layer of, there is refuse in there, and there's a layer of garbage actually that's in there. Why would that be important? So it delights you, but then it also tells the story and makes you think really deeply.
Yeah. That project was slightly different from our usual approach in that the whole location kind of dictates kind of how we approach each project. We it was located used to be a dairy farm. And so the dairy farm left, the land was just like a dusty, barren area. And the community rallied to make it a wildlife refuge. That area in general has a lot of environmental waste that happens, and there's been some issues with the people who reside near it, health issues, and so they didn't want another industry coming and doing more polluting. So, because of the really strong community involvement of that area, our previous co-director was like, we need to do something different with our mosaic. So it was their idea to work with media coordinators, interview community, and see what they would like. And so that was kind of new for a lot of us in that way. And it also happened in 2020.
Right.
And we had to kind of pivot a little and do our interviews on Zoom, which ended up, it was strange at first, but we were able to save the recording,
Right.
and play them for every year of apprentices throughout the 5 years, so that they can hear directly from these community members what they would like to see on the artwork. And instead of us translating what we heard
Step by step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's from the source, which I think is important.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that was said was they want us to show the beautiful and the ugly. And that means litter. But the mask is also a sign of the times of where we were at in this project. We had to shift a lot of things. We had a smaller crew. Thankfully, we were working outside, so we were able to continue in 2021 with the first part of that project. But I think even within Valle de Oro, they were still pretty new. Their own rollout of opening and where they were going to place us, that was delayed. So, yeah, I think, one thing in public art is the timelines are ideal. Do they ever stick to it? Not really.
Well, you did on ours. That was impressive.
For the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and as far as I don't know how to get at this question of bringing people along and getting them into the artwork and to the materials, and because it's so highly specialized. This isn't just painting the sides of buildings. You're creating these amazing sculptures that do have depth, that have texture, that have color, and you do really involved color studies, which is so impressive. And that's a million skills. Is there any way to get our arms around how you can approach that and bring all of these people along, and then boom, here's this gorgeous outcome?
We've done this process I started in 2009, so I've done it for that long. My co-director's done it since 2006, and we're always trying to standardize. I don't know, make a template and go from there. But then we realized every location is different. You can't. There's no one size fits all, for sure.
Yeah,
and you just build skill as you go with each project. So there's always going to be things that you haven't encountered, and you have to how to maneuver this. But yeah, I think through time with each project, we learn something new. We have our set process. We know the clay, we know the material pretty well. We have a 20-box palette of colors, which is as old as the program. There are changing elements that are happening within clay and glazes just because of where the materials come from. We just gotta, adapt with that. And But I think the apprenticeship mentor model, it's like someone always knows a little more than you. And then sharing what you do know allows you to understand it better. And then that helps build skill.
Okay.
Um,
So most of them do come back over a number of.
we have a good handful. Yeah, it just depends. It just depends on where people are at. Sometimes maybe one comes back, sometimes maybe two, but
Yeah.
it's a process, but we have it down, at least that part, I would say. And that took years.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think
I was like, who is the logistical genius? I want to come in with a camera, and be like,
I'm the logistics person.
Yeah. Somehow I had that feeling.
That part is fun to me, oddly. But then how do you teach that to others too? So then you're not the only one that has to remember all the parts.
What I wanted to say about having this mural here at Juanita's Hornos, and the mural is of Ted's mother, Juanita, and the Hornos, which are the earthen ovens, and she was the matriarch in the village. And we just felt like you all listened so well. We had a number of public gatherings where you facilitated, but it's also this thing of there's not a grandstanding. That's the thing that I'm always fascinated with. You guys just came in and there was facilitation as far as text and as far as imagery, and you drew on those and then listened to what we wanted, and then created this beautiful spiral that's intersected with the river and the animals and the fauna. And I do want to let you know that when we talk about this place and our aspirations for what goes on here, it starts with this art. And it wasn't something that we were like, we have to start with the art. But everything that I'm going to do from now on has got to start with the art. And if it can be a mural, I want to do it, because just infused in that, you are so good at the storytelling of the place, like what's involved here is the migration spiral and all of what's around here. And that's less of a question, but more of an appreciation of the process that we had with you. You presented us with the color studies, and it was maybe 3 or 4 back and forth. So it wasn't, because this is so much to put into a document and an art piece.
Mm-hmm.
And the deep listening that had to go into that, I just want to let you know, we're watching. We see that. Yeah.
And I think, trying to articulate, how does that happen?
Yeah. I know it might be frustrating to do that, but I've been fascinated.
I think it's because we're highly collaborative and we've been working as a team for years now. And, we all know the process. We've worked with different groups at this point. The Via de Oro was like the first one to figure out how to work through that process, but also knowing each one is going to be different. And, we have really strong crew that have amazing design abilities. And I think in the combination with that, and then just hearing the key elements to be like, remember they really wanted this, remember they really wanted that. And the collaboration of that working together, I think that's how it kind of plays out.
So your design crew is permanent. Is that right?
We're trying to make it that way.
Okay.
We're still this is our third year. Well, this is actually the first year that we've been able to keep them on practically all year round.
Okay.
There was a month around a month or two around the holidays. And then we had some part-time hours, but last year it was like really part-time. And then there was a few months. And so, the goal is to have year round for multiple people, and it's getting there, which is pretty exciting. And if we can, I'm pretty sure they want to stay on. And so, yeah. But we have some really strong artistic folks in all these different stages.
Yes.
Drawing, coloring, carving, glazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in many ways, like I would say I was definitely more hands-on early on. I'm a little more hands-off these days.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like lining up the next one.
Well, and that in itself is a measure of, for lack of a better word, success, that it's not just your one little baby, right? That you really are. It is really leadership and it really is apprenticeship, right? If somebody else is picking that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And meanwhile, you have this whole other practice. So let's go back to this other, your other arts practice. You're a professor and you recently graduated from IAIA, correct?
2003. So 3 years.
2023.
23.
Yeah.
It's like not 10 years.
Yeah. And can you talk about that practice? And it's taken you all over you went to Venice and you've been in Japan and other places. What is taking you to these places and what is it between IAIA and your practice? How is that growing? What does it look like? That's a million questions.
So I call it my individual practice. Almost definitely my collaborative practice, but actually they're starting to like overlap here and there, which is great. I work. My main medium is clay, but I've also been working more in installation and Adobe, making Adobe sculptures. Incorporating a lot of photo transfers within all different types of clay, whether it's archival photos or from institutions or personal.
Love those.
Yeah. And it's just really
describe an Adobe sculpture then.
I am making these like mountain/cloud shapes with Adobe bricks. And then we're embedding seeds in them and within the mortar, within the bricks, within the plaster. So then we plaster them and kind of do some artistic designs. And the point of them is to melt back down into the earth and reseed. So we've done 4 now, but 2 are still kind of in the process, but 4 through this artist in residence EPA Urban Waters thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so bringing along the apprentices for that process.
Oh yeah,
is what we've been doing this past year. Like, surprise! You didn't know you were gonna make Adobe and learn, and build,
grow,
and learn about seeds. So just like we're all doing this now. We're all gonna do this
because I'm the boss.
But no, when we've been making Adobe, something about working with herbs and it's super grounded, and I noticed that folks really enjoy themselves.
Yeah,
they do it.
So, do you build in the space? Like the cloud and the mountain has to be in the space, right? Or on location?
On location.
Yeah. But you did one in a gallery, didn't you, in Santa Fe? Or?
That was more of an installation. So these are pretty permanent-ish.
Okay.
You can't really move those. Once they're plastered, they're like pretty set. But my installations just kind of cross clays with Adobe arrangements, trying to do photo transfers on Adobe, And then some painted mural elements, some floor stuff, just kind of creating all site-specific space that looks at material and all the connection.
Do the seeds stay viable inside the materials? Do we know?
I want to say they do. And the seeds we are using, we did research on like what is native to the area, natural to the area, and isn't like it's not a food seed, because the food seed does need more attention and care, I think, than grasses and wildflowers.
Okay. Wow, amazing. So are those on the edge of the river, or where do they live?
One is in the community farm in Santa Fe at Three Sisters Collective.
Okay.
One is at Laguna Pueblo, or Coronado Historic Site in Bernalillo. One is at Casa San Isidro and Corrales. And another one's at Sanchez Farms in South Valley.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to do another couple this year, if more.
Yeah. Wow, beautiful. And then what did take you to Venice? You went a couple of years ago to the Biennale, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
24.
That's kind of fancy.
Super fancy. Y'all. I was like, whose life is this? It was through being an educator, actually. That was kind of how they were looking for educators to be a part of an educator cohort. It was for Jeffrey Gibson's exhibition, the space in which to place me, at the Venice Biennale in 2024. He wanted to have a major education component attached to his exhibition, and create curriculum surrounding the exhibition. Only so many people get to go to Venice to see these things. Majority of Americans do not.
Right.
So how do you have it live on, or how do you get other folks to see it who can't get there? And, that's one thing that I definitely appreciate about him as an artist, is his commitment to education and furthering our education with Indigenous art, but also just in general. So,
can you describe who he is and his work for people who don't know?
Yeah. He's Choctaw and Chickasaw. Born in Denver, kind of grew up all around as a child of an army, parent in the army. And, but contemporary artist, actually works in all kinds of materials, but started as a painter, still does a lot of painting, but incorporates beadwork and does sculptures and big murals. Very colorful work. There's a lot of text in it, referencing a variety of things from popular culture to historical texts, like different documents from the United States government. So, yeah, he's after, that's like the show for an artist.
Yeah.
And he was the first Indigenous person to have a solo show at the Venice Biennale in the American Pavilion.
In 2024? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was, and what I've seen, and come to understand is if I'm going to bring all these people with me. So he brought dancers for the opening. He brought a large variety of performers that people, even in the United States, don't necessarily know about. He had 2 different gatherings for education. One was IAIA MFA graduate program, and that was in the June one. And then one was like a bard convening and just different scholars discussing art, Indigenous art specific, but also art in more broad sense. And so there was just like a ton of people. And I chose the June one because I was recently a grad of IAIA, so I knew everybody was going. And I was like, we're all going. I took my family at that time too. And then, we were meeting and being immersed because you really can't, how do you, I think it should be a model. You need to be immersed to be able to get a feel, and how do you then translate that into curriculum. And I think that's what really helped make the curriculum as amazing as it is.
So you designed the curriculum after you were there?
There's 5 from New Mexico, 5 from Oregon. We all convened multiple times online and in person. And there were a total of 14 lessons, and in addition to like supplemental information. But it's a really thorough, I would say, curriculum bundle. One lives on the NMAI website in K360 that just released in March, and then another part of it lives on the Jeffrey Gibson website. And that also, this all just released this March. So we did a like presenting tour in March.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really great.
And what do you think of Venice? I mean, the Biennale.
Yeah. It was surreal. It's definitely overwhelming as far as like how much you could see.
Mm-hmm.
You do need a lot of time if you want to see it all.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. Yeah, just a really great experience.
And your daughter got to go.
And my daughter got to go.
Yeah.
My partner.
Nice. And what's important to you about transferring photos onto clay or Adobe? It's so interesting. It feels right. I don't even really know how to describe it, but what led you there?
I've always been a fan of photography. I took a class in college. I feel like I've always had to get some kind of digital camera. More for fun than for documenting. But then like going through old photos, and I think seeing especially of people who are no longer here, and remembering the memory that it brings up, and also remembering a different time than where we're at now. And the more we get into like technology and the accessibility of phones, like makes you want to remember more how things used to be and where we come from and who we come from.
I think that is what I saw there. Yeah. It feels like memory embedded into the clay. Yeah. That definitely conveys. Yeah.
The clay itself has memory, so it's just like a multi-layered memory bit.
And what about your daughter? Is she getting her hands in the clay? And your family?
They all do, not on purpose. And when she was younger, she'd be up for it, but now she's a little older, and I'm trying to persuade her into starting a business venture that she makes garden oyas and she can sell them.
Ooh, cool.
So she's like, I've done a bunch of garden oya workshops recently, and I've started them, but I can't quite finish them. So I'm like, here, finish this for me. So
can you describe also for I don't know what they are?
Yeah. So, garden oyas are an old technology that kind of comes from China, Middle East areas that where water is scarce. And it's a more efficient way of watering gardens, where it waters the roots of the plant versus the like topsoil. So if you bury this, it's just like a vase or a pot, and you bury it in the ground near your plants, and just kind of make sure that the water is full. And when the plant is thirsty, it draws from the pot. And when it's had enough, there's an automatic stop that happens. So it's really interesting. It's not new, and not at all. And people have been using them and doing them for a long time. But as a clay person, I think the time and energy we put into things that then may nourish us in other ways is what I'm going for.
I can see that theme of embedding seed into clay, and then, but this, like, it has a job, but there's a practicality to this art, and what it carries, what the art carries, carrying the memory and carrying the water and the nourishment and all of that. So that's really beautiful as far as what's coming through that I see through your practice. Yeah. Well, anything else you want to touch on? This is so beautiful.
A lot of things. I have a couple of shows coming up.
What are those? Tell us about it.
I'm going to have, we're in talks at Cultural Center for something in August
2026.
Yeah. I have a big installation at the National Hispanic Cultural Center in September.
What is that?
So it'll be incorporating Adobe photo transfers and kind of mural painting. So I had a show last year at Romano, and it's going to be same elements, but much bigger, kind of a little bit different. And it's kind of looking at paths of water, paths that people take. Yeah, I'm working through the concepts.
You're watching it live.
Yeah. And a lot of it's site specific, so it's like, for me, it's the process of putting it together that is where I figure things out.
Yeah.
So how it's gonna land is like, we'll see when I'm installing.
Is it inside or outside?
It's inside.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
And the acequia is right there, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And the show's called I Thought I Saw You Yesterday, which is a really lovely title.
It is.
Yeah. So it's like memory material.
Yeah. I love that.
Right? Me too. I was like, can I name my work that too?
Yeah. That's a solo show.
No, that's a group show.
Okay.
Yeah. And then another one with 516 Arts in November.
And you sleep when?
No, I know it's going to be getting out of for all of them.
I'm so glad you took time to come and talk to us. You have a lot going on.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for having me.